I have been taking speech therapy for 8 years now, and during this time, I have learned so much about speech therapy and teaching children. My insights have drastically increased the progress I made with my speech kids. And when you hear the fifth mistake that I made, you're going to also have a aha moment, and the way you teach your child is definitely going to change. So it could be a bit of a long video. So take your notebook and pen and a cup of get ready to learn from my mistakes so you can do better speech therapy. If you find yourself saying like finish this task, then I will give you chocolate. Write one word and I'll give you chips. I was also guilty of this. I remember when I was first a student clinician in the university, I went to my speech therapy postings with a bag full of chocolates to give to my children so that they'll be interested to talk to me. But now I went so far to put up a board in my clinic saying no food allowed. So you see, there's been a lot of growth, specifically with respect to using tangible reinforcements with our children. Actually, using food as reinforcement. Using food as reinforcement can have a lot of negative effects. One of the main reason is you're bypassing your child's ability to understand their hunger cues. So their body produces a lot of cues for hunger and thirst and exploration. So when you condition your child to do a task, then only they will get some food or some chocolate. Then you are disrupting your child's introspective ability to read their own body. It also makes children feel that they are completing a task only for the reward. So it removes the intrinsic motivation of the task. So when you tell your child you finish academic stuff, academic tasks, then I will give you food, then you're teaching your child that academic tasks are not inherently nice and good for you. You just have to get through this to get to the good stuff, which is the food. So we don't want our children to understand that, and especially we want to build intrinsic motivation to do the specific task. So you might be wondering, okay Priyanka, if I'm not supposed to use food, then how can I get my child interested to do the activity? You can do various things. Number one, you can find your child's interest and build on their interests. That is, if your child likes aeroplanes, find ways in which you can make aeroplanes or make fun games out of aeroplanes, like an aeroplane race or building an aeroplane with cardboard pieces to get your child's interest and motivation. Second thing is give your child a concrete routine. That is, always have a set time for activity and remind your child after activity we will go for an evening walk or an evening cycling time, so that your child has something good to expect forward, to look forward to. But this is not a bribe for completing the task, but it is a natural consequence. Third thing is to use a mix of things that your child likes with the task. That is, if you call your child to do some activity and on the table there's only notebooks and pens, mostly your child is not going to want to be there. So keep a few toys, keep few things that your child is interested in, like keep few books and a box of toys. You can tell your child we will do this for 5 minutes and then we'll play for 5 minutes. I am guilty of going into my sessions with so much plans. Like I have some animals and I have a farm and I have animal food, I have an animal sound. I prepare so much before getting into a therapy session, and sometimes, most times, if I'm being honest, it backfires. That is, I bring so much, but then the child is new to me, or they are not really interested and they're not really able to comprehend all the things that I brought and what I expect them to do. The best therapy is usually the simple therapy. I might get more social interaction, more joint attention if I just played ball catching activity, or if I just got one blob of clay or slime with the child. So try to not over plan, buy expensive toys, go do so many different programs and that and this. But keep therapy simple. Speech therapy especially works the best when it is play-based speech therapy. And play-based speech therapy does not have a lot of goals and structures and instructions. It is very motivation driven and child led. So take a toy to your child, present it to them and see what happens. Sometimes having lot of goals, lot of ideas in our mind does not allow us to connect with our child. So instead of buying expensive toys, try to find objects within your house. Some things that make for great therapy and play activities are containers boxes, color papers, straws, spoons, plates, cups, balloons, bubbles, shoe boxes, like different watch boxes or some invitation boxes which have different openings, scarves, bangles, bindi, rocking chairs, shelves that can be moved, laundry baskets. So instead of buying expensive toys, trying some massage tools and various programs, try to keep therapy very simple, and oftentimes that makes a huge difference and it gets so much engagement with our child. Now the third mistake I used to make is whenever a child comes to me and I start talking immediately like, hi, how are you, what did you have for food, where did you go, where is your mummy, where do you live. So I ask so many questions to a child with a speech and language delay. And I have learned that even though for many of us speaking comes very easily, speech is not one of the basic human functions, and it is only an evolutionary adaptation that humans developed. And oftentimes, for a child with a speech and language delay, speech and language is already difficult. So, on top of that, when you ask so many questions and you give so much language to process, it can be very difficult for a child. So, I have learned to stop talking too much and instead to supplement my language with lot of visuals. This looks like, for example, if I'm playing with animals and I want to tell the child that this animal is inside the farm or it is sleeping under the hay, then I would use a picture to denote in or a picture to denote sleep. Oh, actually, wait, let me go get my cards. I have my box of cards which I use when talking. So, for example, if I want to tell my child that I want to play more bubbles, then I would use a card like this to show more. So, there is an action as well as a word written. Or let's say I want to show my child that we are going to play with car. So I have a visual for what I'm talking. So I try to use as many visual cards as I can possibly use when I speak so that my language is supplemented by something more tangible and that the child can see and understand. Because if you think about it, speaking is a very transient function. When I talk to you right now, it goes so fast and each word just disappears into the air so fast. So I will use some type of symbol or a picture to keep the speech in context for a while so that I give the child some time to process what I'm saying, some time to understand what I am describing. This also happens when we are trying so hard to teach our child, but then we don't get a response. We talk so much, but then our child is not even talking one word in response. So we would get frustrated. But in that time, take a moment and think if your child is really understanding all the speech that you're giving him, and if he's not understanding, then how can I improve that understanding? Can I use some pictures? Just draw very simple pictures of what you are talking about. Draw it on a whiteboard or have cards or make even gestures as you talk. Now, this tip has actually saved me so much money because I tend to buy so much toys and speech therapy materials over enthusiastically for my child, but then they are the least interested in those toys, but are so interested in like paper or a cloth or a pen. So I have always believed that we should use a child's own interest to speak, because through speech we are trying to teach our children that communication is fun, and if there is no interest to communicate, then how can we teach that communication is fun or enjoyable? So even though you have bought all these storybooks or bought all these expensive toys, fancy learning materials, but your child is not interested in those things and they are not really playing with you with those toys, then try to sit back and observe what your child likes. See what they like to explore. Is he taking spoons or always taking utensils? Then try to do some type of music play with taking different types materials of utensils, different materials of spoons made in plastic or melamine on ceramic, and try to explore with your child. We are often thinking like, why is my child not talking to me? Why are they not showing interest in what I am have to say? But actually, are you interesting to your child? Do you think you are taking into account what your child likes and nurturing that skill? Especially for autistic kids, we are always, surrounded by talk that says he gets so fixed on this, he likes light so much, he keeps on switching it on and off. So that is obsession, you have to completely stop. He likes rhymes, so never sing any rhymes to him. These are really not true, because if your child likes something, they are showing you that that is something I like and interested in. And as parents, it is our responsibility, and therapists also to our responsibility to take their interest and build on that. Especially you, if you take, let's say you are taking rhymes, and with rhymes, it is not just necessary to sing rhymes, but you can do so much with rhymes. Oh, and if you want me to talk more about how to use rhymes for speech therapy, let me know in the comments and I'll make a video. If your child likes rhymes, or if your child likes animals, take that thing and try to explore it in different ways with your child, and teach and communicate and connect with your child through this. Something that we're always trying to build with our child is connection. And for connection to happen, there has to be some mutual interest. If there is no mutual interest, then connection cannot happen, right? There has to be some similarity. So if your child likes animals, you have to show that you are also a person who likes animals. If your child likes spoons, you should show him that you are also somebody who likes to play with spoons. Same with rhymes or books or sea animals or aeroplanes or any of those specific interests that your child has. Get into it and show your child that you also like it and you also want to play with it. And you can see so much connection that it will blow your mind. Okay, so here comes my secret. I used to do this thing where if I'm giving a child a puzzle and then he's not interested in it and he's not playing with it, I will hold his hand and take the puzzle and keep it there, or move it, or write a letter, or draw. If he's not interested in drawing, I will hold his hand and shade. Or if he's not drawing the A properly or the letter C properly, I will hold his hand and do it. Or for example, if I'm showing a child a picture and asking him to talk about it, tell me what is in the picture, then I would ask questions like, who is this? What are they doing? What color dresses are they wearing? Show me their eyes. How are they feeling? So I would ask all these leading questions to get those answers. So I hope you're seeing where I'm going. I'm going to not use prompting anymore. And even in my online parent training, I always encourage parents to not use prompts, especially physical prompts or hand-on-hand prompting, like in my first examples. And in the second example where I'm asking these leading questions, these are verbal prompts. Now the problem with prompting, example, if I want my child to describe a picture and then I ask the question of who is this, I'm teaching my child to respond only to the question who is this. I'm not teaching my child the skill of describing the picture. If I want my child to talk about his day when he comes back from school and I pull all the words out of his mouth, like who was your class teacher, what did you do first, what did you have for lunch, and then that is not the equivalent of describing your day. So describing your day is like when your child comes back from home, they themselves initiate the description. So prompting also negates initiation. That is, it teaches our child that I don't have to initiate conversation. If somebody asks me a question or if they help me, then I will give a response. By asking those leading questions or those exact questions, I am taking away my child's opportunity or need to initiate a conversation. So anytime they have to talk, it has to always be me who talks, who asks the question, and then child will fill up the answer. So we don't want it to be like that. We want it to be in a way where child initiates. So sometimes for an autistic kids, because of an executive functioning difficulty, it is difficult for them to initiate conversation. And there you have to use the fourth technique. You have to use intrinsically motivated activities. And even then sometimes children may not initiate. In that time you have to make use of routines. That is, you have to set, like, we are going to take this picture every day or this book for the 5 days of this week, and then we're going to talk about it. Then initially you may not see much initiation from your child, wherein only you are talking, and then by the third day or the fourth day you can see that your child also tries to say something. So because you have been doing this for a while and they understand the language and all the things in the book, also because you have been giving the language, it becomes easy for your child to start initiating. And especially with prompting is, once you start using it, you have to use another technique called fading or shaping and follow prompt hierarchy to eliminate the prompt. So why go through all this difficulty? We are trying to keep therapy simple. So avoid prompting altogether and stick to modeling. Modeling is you do the activity and show your child and encourage them to imitate. If they don't imitate, no problem, don't force your child. Again, go back to intrinsically motivated activities. If you are running out of intrinsically motivated activities, again, not a problem. Use routines. Show your child we are going to do this activity first, this activity then, this activity third. And then keep doing it over a few days and you will see that your child does respond, does try to initiate conversation. Most often, one of the things we do is we try an activity once or twice and then we see our child doesn't respond and then we stop. But repetition is the most important thing when you're trying to teach your child. Don't get frustrated with just a few attempts. Keep repeating the activity over many days and you will notice understanding improves and initiation also will improve. Just be patient and keep on trying. Oh, and by the way, if you want to get personalized one-on-one coaching between parent and a therapist, text me in this number and we can talk more. I keep talking about routines and modeling. If you want to know more about that, do check out this upcoming video. I go to in detail, I talk about all the methods to teach and how you can efficiently model with your child at home.